Welcome, everybody. Alberg here. This is the Doggy Style Podcast, episode 48. I'm still in Penn Station, so you're probably hearing some announcements. I was just trying to hook up my phone to my iPod. There's still such a thing as an iPod. Play some music through and be able to talk at the same time. And I had the idea of just playing some music this podcast and talking about whatever came to my mind, maybe just listening, talking about the songs, the artists, what the music was, but did not work out. So we'll try again next time. I think I don't have the right wires. So it's another beautiful day in New York. It's June 14th. I think it's Flag Day today. It's either today or tomorrow, but anyway, happy Flag Day to all you flag wavers. Funny enough, I have a friend who sells flags. So my bag is a little heavy today as I packed my juggling balls and also packed some water. So it's just a tiny bit heavier than usual. Thank you. Somebody was nice enough to hold the door open for me. It is nice. Okay, I finally got outside. I don't know if you could hear the difference. So I just remembered that I can't cover my ear with the earphone because it is dangerous. I see a very heavy woman sitting on what looks like a box where they store newspapers that I don't know if she knocked down, just put down for a seat. So, got a few things to talk about today. Well, first of all, there's a guy. Oh, jeez, gotta run for this light, which I don't want to do. Okay, so made the first light. One of the things walking against traffic I always talk about is it's harder to make the lights. So it was a tweet by a guy named Raval. He's pretty well known. He's some sort of tech guy. I'm going to say investor, angel investor. I'll put a link to him, but I was pretty interested in the tweet he wrote because he was the tweet, and I'll go through it a little bit. And the name of the tweet, which is a great title, How to Get Rich Without Getting Lucky. So now these are his steps, all in a tweet, which is fascinating, which gives me the idea of give other how-tos and tweets. And I'll go through it. Seek wealth, not money or status. Wealth is having assets that earn while you sleep. Money is how we transfer time and wealth. Status is your place in the social hierarchy. So he's making a difference, right? This is a number of tweets. It was done on May 31st. I don't know if I guess 2018 since it doesn't have the year. So he's contrasting wealth, money, and status. And he defines wealth as having assets that earn while you sleep. So an asset that earns while you sleep is obviously owning an apartment, giving somebody a loan, having a book or something, anything that you can get value while you actually don't have to do anything. So, and then he defines money as a transfer of time and wealth. So I guess it's to show, to allow people to I guess it is some sort of transfer. And status is your place in the social hierarchy. So he doesn't want you to go for money. So wealth, he just wants you to get rich, to focus on things you can get while you sleep, making money while you're sleeping, which is a really good title for a book, How to Make Money, and kind of similar to what I had started with, which was run Excel from your hot tub. So basically, you're doing something, and it kind of is automation. It's like a software. You can get somebody to give you money for a product or service, and you don't have to do anything. You just could sleep while you get it. That's, according to him, wealth. Next tweet is understand that ethical wealth creation is possible if you secretly despise it. Let me try that again. Understand that ethical wealth creation is possible. If you secretly despise wealth, it will elude you. Which is interesting. There are some people who hate wealthy people, think wealth is something wrong about it. And he's basically saying if that's your attitude, you will never have wealth. Ignore people playing status games. They gain status by attacking people playing wealth creation games. Which is interesting. So, interesting in putting down people who are seeking status, who will put you down for doing your wealth creation. Kind of like that. Now, I'm not sure why, but my phone just brightened up. It was weird. You're not going to get rich renting out your time. You must own equity, a piece of a business to gain your financial freedom. So, renting out time is what you do when you have a job. You won't get rich doing that. I mean, now it depends how you define rich and what rich is. Like I said, so it's really what you consider rich. So obviously people with a lot of money, and when he says status, he might also mean fame. These people aren't necessarily happy, because if most of these people always want, they're never satisfied. So it's that lack of satisfaction that I think hurts people. In other words, if you're satisfied with what you have, then really it becomes a matter of finding, I think, in my mind, is finding ways of having more time. So I'm making an unusual turn. I couldn't get across 23rd Street today, so I'm walking down 23rd. Light just changed. Anyway, back to Naval. And by the way, he's on Twitter at Naval. And I'll post a link to his tweet. So you must own equity. Equity is a piece of something. Equity means equal. I'm not sure why, like they call stock equity. So if you own equities, you own stocks. I'm not sure the whole derivation or what. But when he says equity, I think he said it clearly, you need to own a piece of something, a piece of a business. So I try to own equity in the dot-bomb crash, and I think there's a misleading thing in that is psychology of investing is really difficult. Um, and I just don't think it's made for humans in a way because you want to buy when things are it's almost too late, which I've done. You want to sell one thing when it's just time to buy. So it's almost impossible to know. You can't know. It's in hindsight, it always seems obvious when a bad time to buy was and when a bad time to sell was. So I think he's talking about buying into something. So again, real estate would build wealth. Um, Buying stock in company, continually buying stock in company, especially a company that's growing. But at the same time, any company today that's doing well, and this is the philosophy of don't put all your eggs in one basket, can bomb tomorrow. Enron's an example how everybody thought it was such a great company. There's a few other companies too, and then accounting fraud. I mean, today, on this date, that the top companies are Google, Amazon, Apple, Facebook. So these companies, these four, what will they be like in 10 years? Did they grab all their value already? So that's a good question. Be interesting to look. My thought is that they were all overvalued, but they always have seemed to be overvalued. Even when Facebook first came out, I don't know what year it was. Um, it, if you look at it versus today, I guess it wasn't overvalued. You will get rich by giving society what it wants, but does not yet know how to get at scale. So interesting. You have to first figure out what society wants that they don't know how to get, and then it has to be scalable. So if society wants gold, you have to be able to get gold and scale it. If society wants good music or music that you produce, then you have to be able to, music is very scalable. Next one is pick an industry where you can play long-term games with long-term people. Now, he probably should use examples with this, but I think he's basically saying, and I'm not sure what he means by long-term games. It would appear that long-term industries is don't get into fads, something that seems like a fad. And just one person that I would listen to just seems to be uh, able to tell what's happening is Peter Thiel. He just, to me, just seeing a video of what he was talking about the other day. So I'm spending some more time listening to Peter. Naval seems to be a very smart guy. Certainly worth following and listening to. Pick an industry. Oh, wait, you know what I just did there? Ugh, screwed up somehow. I'm walking at a very leisurely pace today. So I'm going to predict I'm going to get to work a little late. There's a cute dog waiting to go inside somewhere. Looking at a cat. He was looking at a sleepy cat. Pick an industry where you can play long-term games with long-term people. Okay, I read that one. The internet has massively broadened the possible space of careers. Most people haven't figured this out yet. Now, it's funny how language is vague. So he has the possible space. I'm wondering if he meant the word choice of careers. And I'm not sure what the significance of that most people haven't figured this out yet. So he had some intention there, but I'm not sure. It's lost on me. Play iterated games. So that's interesting. What does he mean by iterated games? An iteration is a loop. You do something, then you do it again, you do it again. So an iterated game would be, I'm guessing, I can't think of any offhand, but it would be a game that you play over and over again, like blackjack, poker. You just keep playing it over and over again. All the returns in life, whether in wealth, relationships, and knowledge, come from compound interest. So that's interesting. That the wealth you're going to get is from compounding, which is really talking about exponential growth versus linear growth. So if you're making $10 every day, you're going to go out, you're going to be growing, but only $10 every day. But if you make $10 in a day and somehow reinvest that $10 to make the same amount, you'll make $11, and then you have $11, you can make $12. So that's what he's talking about, is take that income you're making from something and then reinvest it. So if you could find, so that's, I think, the key is to find a way to take what you're investing in, make a profit, and then reinvest it, and then make a bigger profit, and then keep doing that. Seems like a pretty simple formula. Kind of an old style pizza shop I'm on 9th Avenue and 17th Street called Stella's Pizza. This is pretty old looking. And there's Alaska Food Market. There's a bodega where I've gone before to buy beer. Okay, so I'm going to cross now. See where I am now. Oh, seem to have gone further than usual. I didn't want to cross because now I'm on the sunny side of the street, but just roll up the sleeves. I would walk down 17th Street, but I'm noticing projects. So doesn't look that bad, but you never know. I've always been a little afraid of these projects here. Okay. So again, I guess in a relationship, he's saying that in a relationship, your relationship builds a little bit, and that builds it even more. So something like that is what he's talking about. Now I'm going to walk, I think, down 16th Street, save a little time. I won't have to rush as much. And I know there's a staircase on 16th Street. Pick business partners with high intelligence, energy, and above all, integrity. Interesting. That's something, this integrity thing, that is going to stay in my mind. Think about people who don't have integrity. I guess I wonder if people think I don't have integrity because of some of the things I've said. I guess I don't. Maybe I don't. But I only do some of the things, and I'm just starting to do it because I feel like I shouldn't help my competition. And anyway, so I mean that could backfire me. So I mean, I never stole anything besides maybe office supplies. So I mean, I would say I have high integrity. I would not cheat somebody out of money or anything like that. I know the next one might be me. Don't partner with cynics and pessimists. Their beliefs are self-fulfilling. Pretty scary. So if you are a cynic, someone who's cynical, or a pessimist, he's saying don't partner with these people. So now the interesting thing is I was listening to some cynics, still follow them a little bit. One of them has lost me a lot of money in the stock market, where I put a lot of money in a hedge fund manager named John Hussman, and he's just basically lost money for me since the get-go. And he suckered me in by very good commentary, very confident commentary, and I wasn't able to see through it. At this point, my money's still with him. Why, I don't know. It kind of violates a theory of mine. Like, if I had money, would I put it in with what would I do with it now if I had the cash? So one thing he does have is he does run his fund like a hedge fund. And so I am getting a diversification that's hedge fund like. Now, I'm not sure how good that is, but it is what it is. There's an elevator. I'm lazy. I'm gonna take the elevator today. Oh, and it's right here. There we go up. Okay. So I'm in the elevator. I'll just continue going through. It's interesting. I kind of like doing this. So maybe what I'll do is I'll go through my Twitter stream, read some tweets as a podcast. So that's today's. Learn to sell, learn to build. If you can do both, you will be unstoppable. So now he says learn to build, but it's unclear exactly what is meant by building. I don't know that I know how to sell, but I've been working on it. I'm into persuasion, which is a form of sales. So I might have the build part. I have built things. So if I can add the other part, I could be unstoppable, according to him. Arm yourself with specific knowledge, accountability, and leverage. Now, when he says that, the one thing I could think of is, at least in my field, which is kind of finance, that I'm in kind of two fields. I'm in software and finance. And it seems like the people who know more about finance do better than the people who know more about computers. Now, I guess because computer programmers in some way have become a commodity. So I'm in a commodity, which is a mistake. You don't want to ever be in a commodity business. You want to always be in a monopoly business. So the fewer people that know your skill, the better off you are. I'm not sure how accountability fits into that, but I guess if you are managing people, you want to have them accountable to you. You want to be able to measure them, I think he's talking about. And leverage is an interesting concept. So leverage is a lever. You can lift more weight. So if you hire people, you get more leverage. You can do more. So that's a way of gaining leverage. If you borrow money and you could borrow, say, you could borrow money and buy stocks, say, on leverage, which could be very dangerous. You could buy future contracts on leverage. These things could be very dangerous because the downside can be very high, and that's like the big crash we had in 2008, 2009 was due to the high levered companies with an unexpected incident. There's a great boy. So he tells us, okay, so in the next tweet, specific knowledge is knowledge that you cannot be trained for. If society can train you, it can train somebody else and replace you. It's a great, great line. Really like that one. Gotta favor that one. And retweet it. course, now I can't read my screen. Yeah, so you cannot be trained for it. Now, what does that mean? You can't be trained for it. I've recently noticed that programming is something you can't be trained for. Um, and working at a company, like a company that has a lot of complicated rules, it's very hard to be trained for that. A lot of the training comes from experience. So if you have experience in something that nobody else has experience in, that could be worth a lot of money. So it's something to think about. Always be training. I mean, I know this is one thing that I have to look into more or be aware of more on how what I'm doing is helping train me in something. Like, for example, this podcast in theory is helping with public speaking. It's helping me clarify my thoughts. It's giving me a way of talking and not care if anybody's listening. A lot of times we talk and we don't even, the person, if you go to a therapist, what they say is you talk and they just nod their head. So you are basically talking to yourself. And the fact that I'm recording it on a podcast means it's normal. I mean, I could be thinking these things in my head, but instead I'm trying to put them out there. So continue. Specific knowledge is found by pursuing your genuine curiosity and passion rather than whatever is hot right now. So interesting. So that's the two key questions are, where's your curiosity and where's your passion? Now, I know a lot of people talk about it. I think Mark Cuban was the first one to say that passion is very overrated, because if you're doing something that's giving you a big return, even if it seems insignificant, you're going to be passionate about it. And somebody that nobody wants, you will not be passionate about. So, for example, this podcast, if nobody's looking at it, how passionate could I be about it? But if I'm getting more and more people on it, that would give me a lot of passion for it. So I'm going to ask myself now, my genuine curiosity. I don't know, my curiosity has kind of been stifled. I used to be curious on how things worked. Like, I know when I was younger, I wanted to know, how does electricity work? And this is all available now on the internet. So almost any curiosity you have, you can satisfy it. There's probably a video on it. So I've lost some curiosity. So I'm not sure either how to get that back or if it's even needed, but Naval thinks that it is. And passion. Most of my passion is against something. It's against being told what to do. I guess really from, I'm just, and I have a lot of passion of being treated unfairly. Maybe it's been, a lot of my life has been treated unfairly. I sound like a complainer. But, I deal with it. But you could look at it, I could look at my situation two ways. I'm treated unfairly, yet I have a very nice position at a very reputable company. So if you focus, I think if you do focus on this unfairly treated, it's bad. I mean, it can cause anger. So, but instead of, like I said, it's always the place I make money. It's not work anymore. And whatever happened, happened. Kind of can't do anything about that. That's an interesting concept that everybody knows about, that you can't change the past. Past is done. Matter of fact, the past doesn't even exist anymore. So if you're living in the past, it's a really bad place to be. You want to live in the now. You want to appreciate what you see, everything and that's around you, everything you have. In a second it could be gone, from your health to your job to your family. So all of these things are gifts, and it pays to really appreciate them. I mean, and nothing's perfect. And I guess if we lived in a perfect world, it would probably would be horrible. That there was never anything that went wrong. There would be no challenges. It would be pretty boring. So if I came to work every day, didn't have any problems, I don't know. I do think happiness is part of happiness is achieving something that you're striving for. So, for example, today, me breaking through the 170-pound barrier, which I didn't mention before, uh, made me happy. Okay, so let me continue with the Naval stuff. I like that your genuine curiosity. So, one thing I think James Altucher said, your curiosity can be seen by going to a bookstore and see which books you gravitate towards. So I have a bunch of books and kind of sit on shelves. A little disappointed about that. A goal maybe there's that maybe for next month would be to find a way to go through my books. I mean, I could actually read a book right now. Could be useful. I could walk every hour, every day to work, 2 hours of reading. I could read on the train another 40 minutes. So there's time to do everything you want to do. And if you can't find the time, somebody else somehow did. Building specific knowledge will feel like play to you, but will look like work to others. Interesting. It's kind of what I do when I guess what I do like to do is automate. I do like to automate things and find ways to make things. I really dislike things that take a lot of time. And so anytime I find a way, that I would say is a passion of mine. But I don't know if it's a passion for me to automate somebody else's work. I mean, the passion comes from automating my own stuff, things that annoy me, solving my own problems. I haven't yet had a passion to solve other people's problems, but who knows? Maybe it would be something I'd like. When specific knowledge is taught, it's through apprenticeships, not schools. So interesting. Again, schools, and I totally agree with this, that schools are really bad for teaching. I do think if somebody worked with me and followed me around and did what I did and asked questions and worked with me, they would, so that's interesting. An apprenticeship programming system. So you learn to code by being an apprentice. Call it coding apprentice. So, I like that idea. I may bleep this because it's such a good idea. Thank you, Naval. One thing I've always thought is to come up with a college or a series of courses. I'm having trouble just getting one done. I don't know if it's due to the being overwhelmed. I don't know if it's being overwhelmed, but anyway. Embrace accountability and take business risks under your own name. Oh, is that funny? Society will reward you with responsibility, equity, and leverage. Interesting. The most accountable people have singular public and risky brands. Oprah, Trump, Kanye, Elon. Now, this is where I find this is a little ridiculous. I mean, it's just such a survivorship bias here. You took the people that made it. Now, why they made it, you can guess, but it's going to be very difficult for everybody to do this. I mean, it is true that if you can, I mean, how many, he just named 5 people. I mean, I could name Cher, I don't know if there's others. So I don't know if I like that one. Uh, he's, and funny enough, he's branded himself as Naval. Give me a lever long enough and a place to stand, and I will move the earth. Quote, Archimedes. Gonna take a little water break. Wait. Ooh, nice cool breeze right now. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I don't drink enough water while I'm walking, so I've got it today. Okay, let's continue with the Naval tweet. And I think I like this. I might do a lot more of these. Uh, Fortunes require leverage. Business leverage comes from capital, people, and products with no marginal cost of replication, code, and media. So he is talking about making fortunes. So now again, I don't know if my goal is fortunes. My goal is to just have a very enjoyable life. And since I'm close to retirement, who knows? Maybe that can come sooner. Maybe I don't have to work. It's something to start thinking about. Like if I quit my job, what could I do? Where could I live? I probably couldn't live in my current house. I mean, I do still have kids in college, so it's probably not going to happen for a few years. You do find that people do say that when they've stopped working, it could be downhill for a lot of people. So business leverage comes from capital. So money, I guess you borrow money on loan. And if you could put that money to a good use, so if you borrow money at 5% and you could make 10% on your money, you could just keep doing that and make a lot of money. So important to find ways to make money on your capital. Oh, so I'm a little ahead today, so I did take a shortcut. 8:31, I'm a little further than usual, which is good. I'll get in before 9. Capital means money. To raise money, apply your specific knowledge with accountability and show resulting good judgment. Now, I know he's a investor. So if you wanted to invest with him, these are some of the things you would want to do. Labor means people working for you. It's the oldest and most fought over form of leverage. Labor leverage will impress your parents, but don't waste your life chasing it. So again, something that I have not done is labor leverage. So this is the problem. If I thought that my podcast would be successful, or if they start to become successful, which has a very low probability, what I would do is I could hire people to take the video and stuff and put it all together and make it nicer. So that would be labor leverage. I could use looking for ways to do labor leverage. But my fear, my big fear is that What are you doing? Trying to get through a blocked street. Uh, my big fear is that labor is a lot of freaking money. So I've been very reluctant to waste money. What I feel could be a big waste of money. So by not taking the risk, I've preventing myself. But at the same time, maybe maybe I'm just being smart, intuitively knowing that my idea, you know, if I can't make money without leverage, how would I make it with leverage? It's like the person who goes out, rents out a business area, buys a big sign, spends thousands and thousands of dollars on product things. Like I have a friend who kind of think is doing that, and then just finds out that he's wasted all his money. But some people do it for the dream. So there's a dream you could be working on, and you may not ever be successful, but as long as you have the dream. Capital and labor are permissioned leverage. Everyone is chasing capital, but someone has to give it to you. Everyone is trying to lead, but somebody has to follow. Has to follow you. A little important thing. So I'm gonna write a series of tweets like this about happiness, if I could. Shouldn't be that hard. Just follow his format. Code and media are permissionless leverage. They're the leverage behind the newly rich. You can create software and media that works for you while you sleep. I didn't read that right. You can create media that works for you while you sleep. So if I create software and some sort of media, then while I'm sleeping, in theory, anybody in the world could be listening to this podcast or using software somehow that they pay for. So that's what I've kind of learned that from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He's always said that you want to make money work for you. So I don't know. This is original, and I'm sure Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki got it from somewhere also. That's a good book. If you haven't read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I'll put a link in the notes. An army of robots is freely available. It's just packed in data centers for heat and space efficiency. Use it. So he's talking about the cloud, that these robots, or I think this is what he's talking about, that you don't really have to buy hardware or software anymore. You just have to pay people to set it up and for usage of it. And he's saying to use it. Now he says it's freely available. Now I don't think he means it's free. He says it's freely available. I have to ask him about that. I don't see the free, where it's free or how it's free. If you can't code, write books and blogs, record videos and podcasts. Oh, so he's saying if you can't code. So his idea to make money is basically what I'm doing. So he's telling me to do what I'm doing right now. Now, will it work? I don't know. Yeah, so now I just hit the wall, which means I'm a little tired. Ready for my nap. Not that sweaty. Take a little standing break. Leverage is a force multiplier for your judgment. Judgment requires experience but can be built faster by learning foundational skills. There is no skill called business. Avoid business magazines and business classes. Study microeconomics, game theory, psychology, persuasion, ethics, mathematics, and computers. So I'm going to take them up on this. So I'm going to look into microeconomics, game theory, psychology, persuasion. I've been studying ethics. Not sure what that is even. Oh. I studied mathematics, but not to an advanced level. If there was one course that I wish I had done more of, which would have been statistics, and I kind of have wanted to learn statistics, but have been very wimpy about it. Like I've been wanting to learn it for years, but never have. I mean, I know something about it, but not a deeper understanding that I would like. Reading is faster than listening. Doing is faster than watching. I'm not sure what it is. I guess he's trying to give you methods to learn that instead of watching somebody do it if you want to learn. And if you want to learn also listening to a lecture, you're better off, he's saying that you're better off reading the material. You should be too busy to do coffee while still keeping an uncluttered calendar. Now, one of the things, these are all from his point of view, so I'm not even sure what that means. So for him to do coffee, he's probably very busy, but he's very, I think he's just saying just be very choosy on who you meet with. Interesting that it is true. If you want to do better, and I could do this too, you should see who you spend your time with, and look for people who will pull you up, as opposed to people that'll pull you down. Set and enforce an aspirational personal hourly rate. If fixing a problem will save less than your hourly rate, ignore it. If outsourcing a task will cost less than your hourly rate, outsource it. That's interesting. So don't fix something. So what's my hourly rate? And don't fix something that won't give me back that hourly rate. That's a good idea. I like that. Work as hard as you can. Even though who you work with and what you work on are more important than how hard you work. So that's very interesting. Kind of makes a lot of sense. It's not working hard is not necessarily the most important thing. So one thing I could do is find a better place to work. Where I currently work, is none of this. And maybe this new opportunity at work, maybe there's something to be said. Something to be said to look for a place that would want to use my skills, but it's going to come with a real cut in salary, I'm sure. Uh, Become the best in the world at what you do. Keep redefining what you do until this is true. So that's interesting, that to be the best in the world, you have to keep redefining it. So I could be the best, you could start at one thing, but you have to just keep getting skills until you are the best. I mean, it's kind of a tough thing. There are no get-rich-quick schemes. It's just someone else getting rich off of you. That's kind of funny. Very true. Very, very true. Apply specific knowledge with leverage, and eventually you will get what you deserve. When you're finally wealthy, you'll realize that it wasn't what you were seeking in the first place. But that's for another day. Isn't that funny? That is so funny. Yeah, so it's interesting that he took us through this process of getting rich, and at the end says it's not what you're looking for anyway. It's and kind of what I said before about the happiness thing. That, yeah, so I don't know. It's making a choice of money over happiness. But I would think that if I didn't have a job or made a lot less money, that would create a lot of unhappiness. Unfortunately, I didn't invest in the market. I've been in cash for a very long time, and I have lost out. I feel like I lost out, like my cash has become devalued. And so that's why I say that having too much money in cash is a bad thing. And of course, now that I want to move it into balance, I'm sure that those things I put it into will probably go down. So anyway, that was the podcast for today. This is Al Berg. Hope you have a great day. If you like my stuff, please subscribe. That button below the video. Please like it if you've gotten this far. I do appreciate it a lot. Thank you, and please look out for more content. I'll probably be posting every day in the near future. Thanks. Take care.